guys, welcome back. This episode 56 of the Strength of America podcast is about our trip this last week we had to Nebraska, and it was really about the Husker Power 50th anniversary, celebrating what Boyd Epley has done for the strength and conditioning field, not only at Nebraska, which is incredible things there in helping, but athletes around this country. And I think his contributions he's done with NSCA and so many things. We're going to talk about all these and give you some background on things that we saw there and insight from Bobby. Going out and experiencing all that as well. So thanks for being a part of it. If you're not already subscribed, do so now. And let's get ready for episode 56 and our trip to Nebraska, Big Red Country.
Epley in Nebraska were pioneers in the field of strength and conditioning, and today we would like to officially announce that the Lifter of the Year Award will now be known as the Boyd Epley Award. This award, which is given out annually in each sport, will continue to recognize improvement in performance through strength and conditioning. Nebraska Athletic Director Bill Moose and Assistant Athletic Director for Strength and Conditioning Boyd Epley will now present the Boyd Epley Award to our first ever female and male Lifters of the Year. Jamie Hagedorn from women's basketball and Rick Honest from football. Fans, let's hear it for Jamie and Rick. And a special thanks to Boyd Epley and his family for all they've given to Nebraska over the past 50 years.
All right, guys, we made it back from the Cornhusker State. Maybe a little heavier. We did not only enjoy the football and seeing everybody, but we also got some great steaks and great corn, and actually had a little beer or two while we were there too. But we had a great time visiting with family and friends, and I think just experiencing Nebraska and what it's done. And I was just really thrilled to be back there to celebrate Boyd Epley's 50th anniversary, which was on our 30th anniversary of Strength of America all in the same time, which was great. But the experience of getting to see these coaches, meet them, being able to thank Boyd personally for our time, the things that he's given to me, giving me the opportunity to join his staff back from 85 to 89 in the strength complex, working with those athletes, and to see where it's come from, what it started with, which was just a small universal gym at that point, and expanded to one of the biggest programs in the country. And definitely he's run more pro kids through there to become athletes. I think he had 110 different strength coaches he's brought through that program and brought in through internship, assistant strength coaches through the years that have fed off onto private industry, colleges, high school programs, all kinds of different industries. And it was pretty fantastic. What'd you think of the weekend in general, the event, the dinner, the tour? What were some of the highlights and things you remember, Bobby, while you were there?
Big trip, man. It is cool touring the facilities. You know, when you walk through a school like that at that caliber, it's just insane. The amount of memorabilia and just history that it has, and they take you through. It's just such a cool experience, and the facilities are just insane. You know, we walk through and we look at, I mean, even that rack that Boyd created, that's the transformer. That's pretty high tech. It's pretty crazy to see some of this technology. And for some of you that don't know, it's basically, think of like a squat rack on steroids. That's a robot. That's kind of like almost what it is. There's a big old screen there that's like a giant iPad. And that can track and watch the kids, and they can see how they're moving. It can tell them velocity. We can tell them a lot of different things. And there's also a thing above called Elite Form that kind of watches and tracks how they move. So then coaches can get feedback. They can look back and see how they're moving on set to set or rep to rep, or if something's feeling weird, they can look back on it. But just the amount of stuff that they can track and just from in a rack and monitor is insane. And then also the platforms or the catch racks that can elevate up or go down, and then also where you grab the bar and the hooks that can go up and down to cater to each athlete's height,
All through
or just whatever they want to do. It's just, it's insane. So you talk about a place that's just leaving no stone unturned and trying to find every avenue to get better that they can. And, by the end of it, that's what I realized. That's what Boyd is. That's who he is. He's always going to ask for more because he always expects more. He expects better, and he expects to be at the top. And, it kind of resonated with me, and knowing that, it's always better to expect more and try to have more options and different things to look through and sift through when you're trying to look to get better. So cool weekend, cool stuff touring and seeing all that and seeing the history there, and visiting the Nebraska game. I've never been to a big game like that, and the culture there is just insane. And the game, the atmosphere, it's quite the experience. So it was a fun weekend.
It's hard to not get sucked into the whole Big Red and Cornhusker thing while you're there. So, it was pretty cool to do. And I think, there's some big things there, I think, for us. The Transformer wreck you talked about, again, it's just Boyd is always looking for ways to improve on things to make it better for the athlete's experience. And like you said, you could tell not only it was nice with hydraulics, those athletes come into that facility. And we'll have, as you're looking at some of these pictures that we're rolling through the Transformer, I'll make sure that's a part of it too, and I'll label it so you can see what it is. But basically, when the athletes originally come in, they check their height level, where their rack is, where they're going to set the bar, what they're going to do for the base level, for their depth. And then they could punch in their name, and the machine automatically adjusts to that height. So they step in once their weight's set, and they're ready to go, and they can do their work. Those platforms at the base, they can also step on it and do step-ups from that point. You can do all kinds of things you want at different points, and it tells you their strength level, what kind of work they're doing, what kind of velocity, how fast they're actually coming up, what kind of power output it is, which is another thing, because then the athletes start seeing that, and then they can start working on, even though it's the same weight, they can really drive how much faster can I come up with that weight? How much more power can I generate? And as an athlete, that's what you want. We don't want an athlete that's just as strong and real slow movement. We've got to have them take that strength and put it together with speed to produce a powerful athlete. And that's what he's doing with that. And that feedback, you talk about athletes trying to drive off and go, well, I could do a little bit more, and I'm going to do a little bit more. And they keep pushing that. Boy, that's invaluable right there to get that information to do. So that's a fantastic machine that they've got. And they've got multiple in there now that they're working with those kids. So that's pretty cool. And they're expanding. They're getting back to their Husker Power roots. Like I said, it's been 50 years. They've had bumps in the roads a little bit in between where it's got steered off as they replaced coaches and did things through on the top level on down. Thought they could do things a little better with a new athletic director come in. There's always somebody who wants to do that. But they realized pretty quickly that they've got to get back to the basics. Brought Boyd back in, started getting people involved. Zach Duval out there doing some great things, bringing that Husker Power philosophy back into it as well. Scott Frost, I tell you, with being one of our strongest ever quarterbacks that we had, who was doing cleans, I think at that point with 375, and as a quarterback. And still now as a coach, he's pulling 300 doing these cleans. So he's powerful. He understands the importance of Husker Power and what it's done for him and going out to it. So I think that's important, and that's what I want Bobby to see a little bit with that trip going out into it is, man, there is so much more. And the coach is understanding the value of what you're really trying to do as a strength coach is not just making guys big, because that was Boyd's, not his concern, but Bob Devaney, when he brought in 69, that was Bob Devaney's big thing. Initially it was, I don't know, Coach Osborne saw what was happening. Boyd was rehabbing himself, but helped also rehab football players that were injured, and they were coming back stronger than ever. And that's what Coach Osborne saw, who was an assistant at that time. And he was the one that introduced Boyd to Bob Devaney. And Bob Devaney said, I don't know, you make my guys slower. They're bigger, but they're slower. And it'll be the shortest ever first paid strength coach in history, because you'll be out of there. Well, they went on then to win the 70-71 national championships 2 years in a row at that point. And, that was it at that point. History was made. They developed and then kept expanding throughout the year. And they won with Boyd there 5 national championships. And now they're trying to rebuild and get things back on again. So it's pretty fantastic. I think we not only saw that in the strength program, but a part also that impressed me is when I was there at the time, the training table for the athletes, they had different labels. So if an athlete had to gain weight, lose weight, whatever, they had a red dot, a black dot, whatever they were supposed to do. So they were able to select from that chart. So when they got into the food, that food would be either labeled a black dot or red, and the people serving the food knew what they had to do for the athlete. So they'd either let them have it or not based on what they were supposed to do. So the guys trying to lose weight wouldn't get some of that extra stuff that we liked a little bit more, but because they had to watch fat content or things. We know fat's important, But at the same time, we're trying to lose. They had to adjust that diet. Well, now they've got over 600 athletes they're working with. And when they finished up practice, what happened? What do they do when they go up to that nutrition center? Remember?
Yeah. So they have their names on them and different things also. And they basically have a shake catering to whatever they need to do, whether it's gain weight, maintain weight, lose weight, just things of that avenue. And they have a personal shake for each athlete, which is insane, that many people.
Help their recovery, their protein levels, all that they have. So they had some pretty cool stuff in there. They do that. They have protein bars they can grab. They've got fruit. They've got snacks, pre and post workouts. They have things going into it. The Husker Nutrition, I'll put a label for that too for Instagram. Those of you guys follow.
Yeah.
They put some great tips on there as well. But you'll get to see some of the things they're doing on pre-workout meals, pre-game stuff, post-meal, all the things that are so important. And that's, I think, something that, again, Boyd has recognized a long time ago, is that the nutrition factor, how they eat, is important. These are, kids that are going to be the best. They're at their age, that their hormone levels are great. Everything's working at the best, peak performance. But if you're feeding it crap, you can't expect it to do too well either. So they're giving it the right kind of fuel at the right time. And that's when they brought on Dave Ellis to run their nutrition program, who was assistant strength. He was a strength coach while I was there in the 85 to 89, and he left to do some other things, and they brought him back now to take a bigger role, and they're really doing it. And this is not just football. That's their gymnasts go through that, the tennis, all of them have access to that. So they understand that a part of it, the psychology, that they do the work with them as well, to keep them on game mode and recovery and handling the stress. Because as an athlete, any of you who've been through college, you get away first time away from home, you've got all kinds of stuff. You've got the stresses of school, the sport, the coaches, everything handling on you. You've got to know that. And to neglect that part of your athlete, you're really causing him a disservice. So you've got to really take care of it. So he's got a big part in there as well. How about the fields?
Fields are crazy. Goodness gracious. So they have a indoor field house that's awesome that primarily football uses, but all sorts of other sports use it at different times too. But it's their indoor field house. What is that? Is it called the Hawk Field or something like that? They said.
No, they've got Tom Osborne Field in the main, but they've got their indoor field house.
Yeah, what do they call that? The Hawk Field or something like that? Something like that. But it was done, and it's like it's just insane. They can go through and let's say they're playing at a stadium that they know is very loud or something of that nature. They can match the decibels to the sound and have a practice before they head out the next day or whatnot. And they can kind of match that so the players get used to it. They can also adjust the temperature to say, let's say it's like 42 or 115. They can make the whole temperature of that room pretty quickly to what it is, where they're going to be playing. So it's just crazy, the technology to, just get them as game ready as possible. It's just insane. And then we go out to the field where they're playing at, and it's just Memorial Stadium, and it's just, talk about that too, how they created the turf, and they had ground up tire, sand, corn meal, and stuff like that, and they basically put that in so people with cleats wouldn't, with the certain turfs, grab and hold as they're trying to change direction, but when they actually make contact, it swivels and rotates with them. So they're talking about little things like that to try to cut down on injuries and ACLs. And then the field they're talking about, because the past year they had a crazy storm, and they had this new technology to where they really could have played on the field. They could have gotten the field dry within 20 minutes with the technology that's underneath it, these plates. So it's just talk about thinking of every little detail. It's just insane.
That Nebraska corn, pulling that stuff in, and they ground it down tight. They found that helped absorb a little bit more of that water a lot faster. So I said, after those heavy storms, within 20 minutes, the surface is dry, ready to go.
Yeah.
So that's pretty incredible, the stuff that they do. And they hold 90,000 people out there at the Tom Osborne Field, Memorial Stadium.
Yeah.
So it was great. We also got to meet Coach Osborne too.
Yeah.
Which is pretty cool. Got to see him out there and got a picture with that. So, and in the things you're seeing, you get to see that. Who else do you get to meet out there?
Plenty of other people like Johnny Rogers and some different people like that. It's pretty cool. And then Jordan Burroughs, who's I'm a big wrestling guy, big wrestling fan, and he grew up at Nebraska, going to college there, and his early start wasn't a scholarship and everything, and he climbed his way up, was national champ, and I think it was 2 times, and then he drifted on to start going freestyle and wrestle after college, and Then he's been on the world team and the Team USA, and he's been competing for a long time now and placed and gold medalist and all sorts of things. So it was cool to meet him and talk about a humble guy. And he's someone in the wrestling industry that's just really trying to set a good example for the kids through all he's doing on social media and sharing and writing. And so, he's just like how he comes off on there. Very humble, very nice guy. So it was a cool opportunity to say hey to him real quick, meet him, and get a picture. So some fun things.
Again, there's a guy that he was actually one of the top 25 guys of the guys and girls that won a Husker Power Award, the 50th anniversary. So, boy, they had picked out the top 25 athletes in the 50 years that he'd been there. And that's what one of the awards went to, was specifically to Jordan Burroughs. And Jordan realized the importance of strength. I think he said in high school, part of it was 99. He wrestled 99 pounds.
Yeah, little guy
going in. But understand the benefits of strength training and the performance and how they really help go. And anybody who's been on the other end of his double leg could tell you about the strength and power that these guys got. So he embraced that part of it. And like I said, an athlete, you do the sport, you're going to put that time into it. But the ones that go above and beyond understand the importance. They've got to become stronger, faster, more powerful, more durable, how to eat right. That complete athlete, that's what that award was out to. And there were quite a few. So he was a recipient of that, and well earned. After watching what he does in his work ethic, it's pretty fantastic. So, yeah, a lot of the top guys out there. And I got to meet Johnny Rogers, who I'd heard a lot about, worked with his son while I was there in the late 80s. And to get to see him was pretty cool, get our picture there. And just a lot of the guys that I'd worked with in the past were out, which was cool. And some ones I had known throughout the years. We got some new friends and new people we've reached out to, met as well. So it was pretty neat. It was a great weekend all the way around. And then the game, being there in front of everybody and all of those people out there, and we were supposed to rain all day, and we had told them not to have that happen, and it didn't. He called off the rain for us, so it was a perfect day for the game. About 75 degrees, a little change from our 115 we had here in Phoenix, so that was a nice break. So it was pretty cool, and we got a win. It wasn't a pretty win. Defense did a great job. Offense is doing some work. We're going to see what happens now with the Colorado game coming up. See when this gets posted in time, maybe before the game kicks off. So we'll see what happens. But it was pretty cool. Yeah. So overall, it was a great time. I just want to kind of give you an overview of what the Nebraska trip was about. Again, kind of a big shout out final to Boyd for all he's done for me and establishing what I ended up taking as a basis for the Strength of America program and another level on injury prevention, keeping these athletes safe and durable. And that's what I wanted to do when I left Nebraska in '89, was help give access to these kids at a younger age. If we can give them that access, boy, what are they going to be by the time they hit high school and college? If they already know how to train, they know how to eat, they're durable, they can handle the stress of sport. That's what Strength of America is all about to me, and Bobby and what we're trying to set up. So I was just really honored and glad, to be there for it, and to have Bobby join me in that so he could see kind of the roots of what I went through, some of the basics of it, and how everything just is about getting bigger and better. Keep expecting more from yourself so you can give back to your athletes even more as well. So
awesome.
Cool. So thanks a lot, guys. Appreciate it. Just a quick little feedback on it. Hopefully you enjoyed some of the pictures and videos you've seen through here as well. And we'll get on some bigger and better stuff on next week. Back to some normal training things. I'm going to do some things specific to our baseball, softball players. I'm going to get more feedback from questions on things on strength training and weights. And what could we do? What can't we do? What do we need to avoid about arm positioning? So look for those throughout our Instagram posts as well. And just keep the ideas coming. I like to hear from you either through the email, theSOApodcast@gmail.com, or message or comment here or anything, and we'll be glad to help. But make sure you get over to the Instagram page as well for those videos next week.
Awesome.
All right. Thanks again for being part of the Strength of America family, and we'll look for you for next week. And till then, have fun. Go Big Red. Let's see what you can do. Thanks.
See ya.